Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as I am every Friday by Derek Brown and Pat Fitzmaurice. We are talking some key questions ahead of Week 8. There are 6 teams on bye, guys, which makes it a little easier for us. There are fewer games to have to squeeze into this episode. Makes it a whole lot harder for fantasy managers, though. We are missing the Cardinals, the Lions, the Jaguars, the Rams, the Raiders, and the Seahawks. There are a lot of good fantasy players on those rosters and on just that we are missing from our teams here in fantasy this week. A quick reminder that all of our weekly consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. Before we get into our key questions for every matchup this week, I do want to talk about Thursday night football. It was a blowout 37-10 victory for the Chargers over the Vikings in LA. Fitz, the Vikings, there's almost one of those things where it's like, what can you even say about this team? Like, Carson Wentz was bad and very banged up in this game. Like, they was out of hand early, so clearly they weren't going to be able to rely on the running game. It was just kind of like almost a flush it type of performance for everybody. Addison did get in the end zone. Jefferson had his usual 11 targets. The backfield specifically, do you have any? Aaron Jones, 5 carries, 15 yards. Jordan Mason, 4 carries, 3 yards. Again, the running game didn't really have the chance to get going with the Chargers jumping out to an early lead. But what are your expectations just for what this breakdown is going to look like between Jones and Mason going forward now that Jones is back? Really
complicated. And you would hope the Vikings offensive line would have better games than it had last night. Because that was a big problem, and we kind of blindly trusted in Kevin O'Connell to get the Vikings offense right, no matter who was at quarterback this year. And what we maybe overlooked was just, I don't know. I thought the Vikings offensive line was going to be pretty good, and last night it was a problem. So I don't know, I just thought I saw with last night's game dark storm clouds on the horizon for fantasy managers, because the Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones situation is going to be really hard to navigate going forward, and whether either of those guys can give you flex value in a given week. And then now the Chargers pass catchers are going to be really hard to sort out every week and who you can play. I guess we're playing Oronde Gadsden every week. He's a must start. And I was totally wrong about him. I thought I worried that because Justin Herbert had thrown 93 passes over his previous 2 games, including 55 passes in week 7. And Quentin Johnston hadn't been there in week 6, didn't play that week. Then maybe Gadsden's stats were kind of artificially pumped up in week 6 and week 7. But last night, Justin Herbert threw 25 passes, 5 of them to Oronde for a 20% target share, and he made some hay, and he did it early on. And you just wonder what his final stat line could have looked like if the Vikings had been able to keep the game competitive. So, but boy, Quentin Johnston, no targets. And the thing is, he's going to have splash plays going forward, splash games. But you just can't start him confidently now. And Keenan Allen, I guess, gives you a floor, and we kind of got the floor yesterday, but the ceiling is getting a little smaller with Oronde asserting himself. Ladd McConkey was kind of all over the place, and we might get more of that. And weirdly, Oronde Gadsden might be the most confident start going forward of any Chargers pass catcher.
I was going to bring this up, Fitz, when we got to the Chargers side, that I got a DM this morning on Instagram from one of our show listeners, and all it said was, "You guys got to hammer Fitz on his Gadsden call." So the listeners were picking up on your fade of him and wanted me to bring it up. So.
Totally got it wrong. Mea culpa. I did. I whiffed on that one.
Yeah. D-Bro, what do you think is the kind of trickier situation to navigate going forward? Is it the Vikings backfield or is it the Chargers pass catchers?
I think it's going to be the Chargers pass catchers, but I'll quickly weigh in on the Vikings backfield here. I think the schedule upcoming for the Vikings is going to be brutal for their rushing attack.
It's the most difficult in football, right? Is that?
Yeah. I don't. To be honest, I'm not sure about that, but with the Lions, the Ravens. Look, you get the Bears coming up, but then it's the Packers, Seahawks. It's really not until you get to where, and this is maybe if you're looking at you're a team that has only 1, maybe 2 losses on the season, and you were looking at how do I stack my team for the fantasy playoffs, maybe you trade for an Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason, because weeks 15 through 17 are pretty good. They get Dallas and the Giants in weeks 15 and 16, but outside of that, it's rough, man. And that offensive line, like Fitz talked about, bottom 5, bottom 10, like they played horribly. Ryan Kelly can't stay healthy and on the field. Even when he is on the field, he's been playing bad. They've been having problems with their guards everywhere. That was a big problem that nobody want to talk about for J.J. McCarthy and for Carson Wentz last night. Like, side note here, why the heck was Carson Wentz even playing in that game in the second half? Like, once the game got out of hand, this dude is playing, and I'm sorry, people can miss me, and I'm not going to just throw out names here, but some of the commentary out of that game last night talking about emotions and guys playing hurt, like, you could miss me with all that crap. Carson Wentz, I'll give it to him. Like, he did not play good, but going out there as much pain as he was in, my hat is off for him because he was out there like doing the best he could. And you could definitely tell he was hurt and not able to like function really. So I don't know what KOC is doing. I think a little bit of the shine has kind of come off of KOC this year, and that's not a JJ McCarthy take. That's not a Carson Wentz take. But like some of the things he's doing from an offensive play calling standpoint don't make any freaking sense. So I'm not trying to bury him. I still think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL, but dude is not in his bag. That is definitely sure. But getting back to the Chargers pass catchers, man, like, yeah, Gadsden balled out, man. Like he had a 23% first read share. And I think some of the nature of this game, it's going to go under because it was a blowout towards the end. It's going to go under the radar a little bit. Keenan Allen only had a 50% route share. I do think some of that was just game script. So like if the Vikings pushed, that would have been a little bit different. But I wasn't, if anybody checked out the primer, I wasn't surprised by the QJ Quiet game. One, I don't think he's fully healthy. If you look at his target shares of the last 2 weeks, like last week, 9% target share, 9% first read share. The game where he got hurt with the hammy before he went out for the week, 12% target share. So the Chargers can lie all they want to about their injury reports. Like he wasn't even on the injury report this week. I don't think he's fully healthy. But I think this also goes back to we are going to have to play matchups with the Chargers wide receivers moving forward. Like if it's a good slot matchup, if it's too high coverage, if it's single high. I think QJ is still going to be involved a lot in this offense, but could he be not the wide receiver one, unquestioned play every single week, set, forget? I think that maybe could be out the window, and he looks like more of a coverage dependent play moving forward.
Yeah. And by the way, can I just add one more thing? Just getting back to the Vikings real quick. I think Christian Darrisaw left the game. Maybe was it like late first quarter? So that offensive line, I mean, yes, it's bad, but it is really banged up with Darrisaw, Ryan Kelly, Brian O'Neill, I think has been unhealthy. So like they're missing or have guys playing at less than 100%. Like it's a really injury riddled offensive line right now.
I don't want to linger on this game too much, but I do think it does bear bringing up here. Kimani Vidal, Fitzy, I know, like, dude, everybody that loved him as a prospect, we're all vindicated to a certain extent. Like, everybody came out and he had the big game versus the Dolphins. They're like, well, he can't play the Dolphins every single week. All right, where y'all at now? Because he had a really good game last night, and he looked really good doing it. Like, absorbed a lot of volume. I think this takes the Chargers off of the trade market probably for a running back. But the other thing that got brought up in that game, they showed Omarion Hampton still in a walking boot. Again, I don't think we're getting the full picture about Omarion Hampton's health, what that all looks like. Like, people that I trust out in the injury space have talked about maybe we don't see Omarion Hampton until week 12, week 13. Like, he's been out for a number of weeks. He's still in a walking boot. He could have had a fracture. He could have had surgery. So if you got Kimani Vidal, hold on to him, man. I think you got an RB too. And a lot of people could be saying sell, sell, sell. I'm not there. I'm not.
Yeah, for the record, I wasn't going to move off this game without bringing him up, but you guys keep jumping on to other topics when I ask you a question, so you're not giving me the chance to.
You're welcome. We're trying to help. We're trying to help you, Worm.
No,
trying to help.
It's funny because before we started taping, to pull back the curtain, we said, do we want to talk about this game? It was a blowout. And I was like, yeah, I think we should hit on it, but we don't need to spend like 10 minutes on this. And you guys just keep going with different directions.
I mean, it's a lot to dive through, man.
I'm not asking. Fitz, yeah, Vidal, 23 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown, and also just like looked really good running the ball. Like just even like eye test, you could say like this guy just looked like an awesome running back in this game. I mean, the Chargers offense was really doing whatever it wanted this whole game, but yeah, like on the ground, Vidal was just fantastic. I totally agree with Debro that like this is a very clear sign that they do not need to trade for a running back if that's something they were considering. And like Debra said on the walking boot for Hampton, like this could be a bit of a runway here for Vidal. Like I wonder if he keeps this up. I wonder what it will look like when Hampton comes back, and if we're at all worried about that. But for now, Vidal is just like a set it and forget it running back in your starting lineup. It sure seems like.
Pretty much, and the presence of Joe Alt certainly helps. Like that's a big difference maker.
I was going to ask this before we got off Gadsden just very quickly. I saw somebody say last night on Twitter that Gadsden is now, like this is like an actual analyst said this, I forget who, but they said that Gadsden is now a top 5 tight end in Dynasty.
Oh.
Do you guys agree with that or no?
That's lofty.
It's pretty quick to say
I'm not
that.
there yet. I will say I did move him up in my rest of season ranks for redraft. I put him up to tight end 9 for the rest of the year. Like I would rather Oronde Gadsden than Travis Kelce, Dalton Kincaid, Hunter Henry, Mason Taylor, Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, and TJ Hawkinson with what they're doing and not doing.
I mean, if you're saying that you'd rather him than those guys rest of season, given the age, it might make sense to say that he's up in that top 5 range for Dynasty too. I mean, if you already are liking him better rest of season now, why would that not be for Dynasty too?
You can't put him ahead of Bowers, Tyler Warren, or Trey McBride. Tucker Kraft, I'd personally rather still have Kraft. Number 5, Sam Laporta. That's an interesting conversation.
Sam Laporta. I can't put him above Sam Laporta. I think him versus George Kittle is a very interesting conversation with age and productivity and stuff.
I think that's easy. It's just, are you a win now team or are you a play for the future team?
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the line. So maybe not top 5, but I mean, he's top 10.
Top 7 or 8, I think it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, the real interesting debate is Oronde Gadsden versus Colston Loveland.
Ooh.
You know, a top 10 pick
sticking to the draft capital.
Day 3 guy, right?
One was a first-round rookie draft pick, and one was a guy you got off the scrap heap in round 4.
I think Loveland versus Harold Fannin versus Gadsden is interesting. Just the 3 rookies that aren't Tyler Warren. I think would be a really interesting head-to-head. All right, let's get to the key questions. We went long enough on that game. We'll start with Dolphins at Falcons. This one, I just want to talk about Bijan Robinson. Unstoppable force meets a highly movable object in the Dolphins' run defense. Hard Rock Bet has Bijan's over-under at 95.5 rushing yards, which is a very high number, and yet it feels like it's like not even half of how high as it needs to be given what we've seen out of Bijan this year and what we've seen out of Miami this year. So basically, I just want you guys to predict Bijan's stat line for this question. D-Row, I'll start with you.
I think it's going to be a similar game to what we saw in Buffalo, and I'm not saying he's running for $170, but I think I'm putting him at 18 carries, 140 on the ground, 35 through the air, and I think he gets in the end zone twice. I think it's a week-defining kind of performance.
What makes you say that you don't think he gets 170 on the ground? What's stopping him?
Okay, because the matchup is so good for the Dolphins, like versus the Dolphins through the air, if you want to inject some life, some hope, and some confidence for Michael Penix moving forward for the rest of the year, this is the kind of matchup where you say, yeah, Bijan, you're going to get yours, but also this is a really good opportunity to inject some life into this passing game and fuel Michael Penix's confidence moving forward for the rest of the year.
It's also fits maybe a good opportunity if you're playing the fade Bijan a bit game. It's maybe a good opportunity for Tyler Algier to just take a whole bunch of the workload because he is a more than good enough back to take advantage of this run defense, and maybe you save a little wear and tear on Bijan. What do you think? What do you think Bijan's stat line is going to look like?
Well, first of all, I'll agree with you on Tyler Algier. He is absolutely playable in a 16 bye week. He's had 4 of his 6 games double-digit carries, all 3 of his home games. He's had double-digit carries, and the Falcons are at home for this one. Let's just review the performance of the Dolphins' run defense. The last 3 weeks, they gave up 206 rushing yards and a touchdown to Rico Dowdle. 206. Then 124 rushing yards to Kimani Vidal. That was in week 6. And then last week, 84 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns to Quinshon Judkins. So I'll say Bijan carries 18 times for 117 yards and a touchdown. And, add some receiving goodness on top of that. And I'll say Tyler Algier goes over 50 rushing yards.
Fitzy, I love the fact that you brought up Algier because I wrote him up in the primer. And really what it's come down to with him, If you think the Falcons win, you flex Tyler Algier. His splits in their wins and losses, he has 3 touchdowns in their wins. He has averaged almost 60 total yards and over 15 touches. So if you think, like, I've got him as a top 24 running back this week, man. Like, I know we have 6 teams on bye, and I know that sounds crazy. But if the Falcons roll and everything with the trends lines up for Tyler Algier, when you want to talk about home splits, wins, a great matchup, I think he scores a touchdown this week. I'm totally with you. Like, I would play Tyler Algier over Isaiah Pacheco this week.
Probably, I would not do that, but there are probably some people who wish they had played him over Jordan Mason this week.
That's fair.
Also, point of order.
It's fair.
Point of order, Fitz did not bring up Tyler Algier. I brought up Tyler Algier. You try to cut out me from the like 2 segments in a row here, D-bro.
Well, we haven't talked about the Ravens, so I'm giving you your shine later.
Well, we're going to talk about the Ravens next. Bears at Ravens. I think we can move off this game, right? I mean, like, the Dolphins' offense is ugly. We know the Falcons going to run, so we can move off that game. Bears at Ravens. With the Ravens defense finally getting healthier, which it is. Everybody was practicing this week in full, besides Lamar, obviously not on the defensive side. On the defensive side, they're all practicing in full. It's really just Maye that's missing. Everybody else is back at this point. Who do you believe in more for this week in fantasy from the Bears offense, their running game or their passing attack? Because both parts of the Ravens defense have been bad this year, but it's harder to ascribe the same level of badness in this week because they are healthier than they've been since week 2. So who do you like better, Bears running game or Bears passing attack? Fitz, you can go first.
Well, it's just Madubuike, Worm. I mean, who needs him?
He's great. Listen, I'm not saying that the defense is solved. I'm just saying they're actually healthy for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, but guys like Roquan Smith, though, he is a sideline-to-sideline guy who, not really a guy who routinely sheds blockers and stuffs the run at the point of attack. Like, he needs to play behind defensive linemen who can eat blocks, and I don't know if the Ravens have enough of those guys up front without Madubuike. So the Ravens actually did do a pretty decent job against Kyren Williams when they played the Rams right before the bye. They held Kyren to 50 yards on 13 carries, although Kyren did have a rushing score in that game. Still, I do kind of like the Bears' running game in this matchup. Like, Ben Johnson has that ground game clicking. Since coming out of their bye, the Bears have run for a combined 367 yards in wins over the Commanders and Saints. Bears running backs have averaged 6.6 yards per carry over those 2 games. And the offensive line has just been mashing up front with Joe Thuney, Chris Dahlman, Jonah Jackson on the inside, all free agent additions in the offseason. So, yeah, sorry, Worm. If the Bears can keep this one close or somehow manage to play with a lead, I think they'll have success on the ground.
You don't need to apologize. My favorite bet of the entire week is Bears plus 6.5.
I got that one like on Tuesday because I think the Bears are live with it, even if Lamar Jackson played. And earlier in the week, there was some doubt about that. And if he didn't play, obviously 6.5 points for the Bears is a steal.
I totally agree. Lamar has still been limited in practice. He's the one guy that has been limited in practice. Again, everybody else seems to be back kind of in full. I think 6.5 would be too much, even if Lamar was guaranteed on the field, just knowing that he'll be in somewhat limited capacity and what the defense has looked like this year. The other thing, D-Bro, is, I mean, I remember talking with you on shows. I was really nervous about the Ravens' run defense before the season started. It was the one part of the roster that I was nervous about. Then you lose Madubuike, which makes it look even worse. So I think the running game is the correct answer to this question that I would have more confidence in because, I mean, the secondary has not been great for the Ravens, but it is at least something close to what we expected full strength to look like now. The run defense was already expected to be kind of a weak spot and is still the one piece, area missing a really big piece in this game. So I think the run game's the right answer here.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, like, the other thing about this is before the bye, if you point to what they did versus the Rams and a better passing attack, better quarterback play, I think the run game is the answer on multiple fronts here. One, the Chicago Bears, like, offensive line, like Fitzy talked about, they got the second highest adjusted yards before contact per attempt. So they're clearing holes for DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. And the Ravens have given up the 7th most rushing yards per game, 4th highest yards after contact per attempt. The other part about this, and I don't want to bury this too far, I don't have any faith in Caleb Williams, man. He's not playing good football. He's not playing good football after they get off script. He's not playing good football like... Look at what he did versus the freaking Saints. Everybody has torched that secondary, and he looked clueless. So I think a lot of different parts of this, like whether it's the matchup, Ben Johnson leaning on the run game. But I think the Ravens' pass defense did figure some things out. After they made the trade for the secondary help, what they did with Kyle Hamilton before the bye, I think their defense is going to come out and look a lot better. I think the Ravens are going to win this game. I actually think the Ravens cover that line.
Oh,
I'm going to sound like the Ravens homer here.
Interesting. Let me ask you this, since we all like the running game here. Obviously, we're starting DeAndre Swift. He's looked great the last 2 weeks coming out of the bye, and we like the matchup. Are we just in a 6-team bye week, D-Bro? Are we starting Kyle Monangai?
Yep, we sure are. I've got him at RB 27 right now, so very much flex worthy. Like, I mean, come on, guys. Like, if we believe in this run game and the splits between him and Swift, which I think, two parts to that. I think that split is real, and I think it continues. And even if people are like, oh, well, maybe that's just because Swift isn't healthy and he walked into last week banged up. Have you seen the injury reports this week? You think he's any healthier this week? He opened the week with a DNP. Now, I know he got practice yesterday, but like, as of recording this, but I mean, still, I think Monangai is going to be a part of this backfield. Like, give me Kyle Monangai over, I mean, I'll play him over Woody Marks, Tony Pollard, a host of other guys, like as far as flex plays, and maybe, depending on your roster, maybe you picked him up and you got to roll with him as an RB2 this week.
I guess what's interesting to me, D-Bro, is you saying that you would start the second running back in a game that you expect, that you're picking the team to lose by a touchdown, because Monangai's not like a pass catcher. So you're not worried about game script saying like both of these guys are not going to, like, because I think they'll both be effective, but if you think the Ravens are going to cover the touchdown, then it makes it harder to play two running backs, right?
I mean, not necessarily. If you're within a score, that's neutral game script. You're not taking the Bears out of what they want to do. Like, I think the game can be close and the Ravens still cover by 7 to 10 points, like whether that's a field goal at the very end of it. But if the game is neutral script most of the game, Ben Johnson's still going, like, he's not crazy. Like, I don't think this is a game where he says to Caleb Williams, all right, bud, we're going to go out there and 45 times you're airing it out this week. I don't think that's in play at all.
What do you think fits on Monangai?
I've got him RB 29. Like, I've got him right ahead of Nick Chubb. I think I do have him just behind Woody Marks and Tony Pollard. Just behind. That's kind of the class that he's in, because it wouldn't shock me if he only got 5 or 6 carries if the game script kind of goes haywire on the Bears. But the hope is that he is Ben Johnson's new David Montgomery to DeAndre Swift's Jahmyr Gibbs.
Let's go to Bills at Panthers. How differently will we be ranking Teterow McMillan based on Andy Dalton potentially starting versus if it was Bryce Young? D-Bro, I'll start with you.
I mean, similar, because I'm projecting a similar amount of volume. I mean, considering all the bye weeks and stuff, like I've got him at wide receiver 23 right now, but somewhere in that mid-range to low-end wide receiver 2 range. What I will say is I think the floor is higher for Teterow McMillan with Andy Dalton back there. I just think Andy Dalton's a better quarterback than Bryce Young. And I don't think that's crazy a crazy thing to say, considering if you look at just Bryce Young this year, Andy Dalton when he played last year, their highly accurate throw rates are almost identical, except you look at catchable target rates. Bryce Young, 71.9%, which is terrible. Andy Dalton is at 78%. So Teterow McMillan is going to see probably similar volume, but you're giving him probably like a 2, maybe 3 more catchable targets on a weekly basis as long as Andy Dalton is the starter. And dude, like if Andy Dalton goes out and like if this is a close game or he rips off, like say he gets 2 starts and he wins one of these, I don't know if it's a given Bryce Young gets that starting job back. He's looked terrible this year.
So D-Bro is below consensus on Teterow McMillan. He's up at wide receiver 16 in ECR and our half PPR rankings for the week. Fitz, are you with D-Bro or are you more aligned with consensus?
Consensus. I've got him wide receiver 14, and I would have had McMillan wide receiver 16 if it were Bryce Young starting. And I mentioned this on one of our shows yesterday. For Teterow and McMillan to be averaging 7.8 yards per target when Bryce Young is averaging 5.8 yards per pass attempt suggests that McMillan is really, really good. And McMillan is also averaging 1.70 yards per route run. He's tied with A.J. Brown and Michael Pittman in that category. Those are good veteran receivers playing with better quarterbacks. So unless you play in a shallow league, McMillan is pretty much an auto start every week, or should be. And before the last 2 weeks, he's only had 5 targets each of the last 2 weeks. But before that, he'd had at least 8 targets in every game. Seems like the Panthers have been able to lean into their running game a little more the last couple of weeks. I don't know if that's going to be the case with them being, 7.5-point dogs to the Bills this week. So I think McMillan will be busy, and I think he's going to cook.
Let me do an impromptu head-to-head here. Teteroa McMillan or Stephon Diggs? Who would you rather start this week? Either of you.
Starting Diggs.
McMillan.
I'm very high on Diggs this week.
Okay. I have a second question on this game. Just any hesitation with James Cook this week? I'm not saying hesitation in terms of not starting him, but just maybe dialing back expectations, just because the Panthers' run defense has been really improved this year, Debra.
Mm-hmm. You're still starting him, but yes, I dropped him in ranks a little bit. I've got him at RB8. I've kind of gone back and forth between RB8 to RB11-ish this week. Only because, the Carolina Panthers, I thought their run defense was going to be much improved this year. And they came out the gate and they looked at the same old run defense. But since week 4, people need to put respect on this run defense, man. Since week 4, they've allowed the fewest rushing yards per game in the NFL. They have the highest stuff rate and the 4th lowest yards to contact per attempt. The thing that can help James Cook is the Bills' offensive line is pretty good. They're 14th best in adjusted yards before contact per attempt. So, if the Bills want to impose their will, they're going to probably try to in this game. So I've still got Cook as an RB1, but I'm probably going to be below ECR on him.
Fitz, what do you think? Where do you have Cook ranked?
I have him, I believe, RB8. And if this were a matchup against the 2024 Carolina Panthers defense, we would have Cook unanimously ranked running back 4 right behind the big 3 of Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson. But yes, it's certainly worth acknowledging the change in the weather here as far as the Panthers rushing defense. They gave up the most fantasy points per game to running backs last year, and it wasn't close. The next worst team against running backs was giving up 3.5 fewer fantasy points per game to running backs than the Panthers were. But so far this season, Panthers have allowed the 9th fewest fantasy points per game to running backs. And I guess we have to give credit to Debro, not our Debro, but the Panthers Debro, defensive tackle Derek Brown.
Big man in the middle, baby.
Who was hurt last year, but he is back with a vengeance in 2025. PFF currently has Derek Brown graded 2nd best among interior defensive linemen this season, only behind Malik Collins of the Browns.
Cook is RB6 in ECR, so he is being ranked highly, but you guys slightly fading him, obviously still starting him. Today's show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Huge sports weekend in football and really all sports right now, so don't miss out on all the promos right now on the Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app. We talk football on this show, but there's plenty to bet for the NBA, hockey, and a big game 1 in baseball as well. If you're doing some fantasy research for Sunday, don't forget to check out those players' odds to score on the Hard Rock Bet app. And if you want to ride a hot hand, look at the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. Fantasy Pros has Christian McCaffrey as our consensus 3rd-ranked running back this week. He's reached the end zone in 9 straight October games. You can bet those streaks and find more insights any day of the week on the Hard Rock Bet app. And for you sports bettors, if you haven't tried your first bet on Hard Rock Bet yet, there's still time for you to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you get not only your winnings, but $150 in extra bonus bets. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. It's kind of funny that Christian McCaffrey is only our consensus 3rd-ranked running back. It just speaks to how insane Bijan and Jonathan Taylor are ahead of him, because McCaffrey's on pace to be the 6th best receiver in football, let alone what he does on the ground. Just been an absolute monster. And it's he's only 3rd this week because the other guys are just so great as well and also have great matchups. So fun week for those big 3. Let's go to Jets at Bengals. By the way, Garrett Wilson has officially been ruled out of this game. So, not that we were really expecting him to play. Even if he was playing, not that we'd be thrilled about him from a quarterback perspective, but he is officially out. And I believe Sauce Gardner is also officially out in this game. It seems clear that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have saved their seasons for fantasy managers now that Joe Flacco is a quarterback. But do we also believe in Chase Brown again going forward? I know he had a good game in this last week with Flacco, but I don't know if we're as he's back. We're ranking him the way we did with Burrow, kind of the way we are with Chase and Higgins, at least close to it. So I'm curious both for where he is ranked for you in week 8, Debro, but also rest of season, Chase Brown.
So week 8, because of all the buys, I've got him at RB19 for the week. I think like mid-range RB2. I've got him at RB25 for the rest of the season, only because I worry about like his rushing share has dropped in this offense. He's played good. That still hasn't stopped since week 6. He's only played 58% of the snaps. He's had 20 of 33 running back rushing attempts. And like he's still getting the work inside the red zone, but I do think it's notable that Samaje Perine is cutting into his work. So on a pass first team, they get into the red zone, they're throwing, they're not running. I think he's like a low end, anywhere in a low end RB2 conversation, but I'm not rushing out to like go trade for him or, rushing to plug him into a lineup right now.
So Debro is slightly below consensus, both for this week and rest of the season, just by a couple of spots here. Fitz. Chase Brown is in consensus rankings RB17 for the week and RB21 rest of season. Does that sound right to you, or would you go differently for either of them?
I'm going the other way. I'm solidly above on both counts. I've got him RB14 this week, RB16 rest of seasons. I just think Chase Brown is going to be among the ships lifted by the rising Joe Flacco tide in this offense. And it's a simple formula. And I realize Debro makes a good point about he's not getting the snap shares he did last year when he was getting these crazy 90% snap shares and 95% of the running back touches for the Bengals. It's not going to be that, but the formula is simple. Move the ball more effectively, get more first downs, run more plays. That leads to more volume for Chase Brown. And Chase Brown had 37 carries in the Bengals' first 2 games this season. It looked a lot like last year, and Joe Burrow was starting at quarterback for those 2 games. Since then, Brown has not had more than 11 carries in any game since. Now, that does include 2 Flacco games. The rushing volume hasn't picked up for him yet, but I'm pretty optimistic that it will.
Let me throw another question your way in this game, because it's largely an ugly game that we don't care about. Would you guys rather start Joe Flacco at quarterback this week or Breece Hall at running back this week? Bearing in mind, Sauce Gardner is officially out in this one, so pass defense for the Jets look a little more enticing. We don't know the quarterback as of the time we're recording this for the Jets. Tyrod Taylor is questionable. Would you rather start Breece Hall or Flacco at their respective position?
Flacco.
I mean, Breece is the only game in town for the Jets offense right now. You'd think he has to, and it's not like the Bengals defense is any good. It's a bottom 3 defense against running backs. So I got to go with Breece here. Like you're going to get the big Joe Flacco interception game is coming though. That's the thing about Flacco. Like he's going to complete passes to Chase. I
don't think it's coming this week though.
Probably not, but you never know, man.
Do the Jets have a turnover yet on defense?
Right, they really don't. But man, I love the Jets catching 6.5 this week. Like the Bengals should not be favored by 6.5 against anyone.
Let's go to 49ers at Texans. Houston's offense looked great against the Titans and the beat-up Ravens defense in back-to-back weeks. Then they had their bye, and then they looked terrible against what is a great Seattle defense. So what kind of performance are you expecting against another injured defense in the Niners? Not maybe injured to the same level that the Ravens were in that Week 5 game, but another banged-up defense here that's missing key players. Fitz, I'll start with you on this one. I'm guessing that the answer will be something in between what they were against Baltimore and what they were against Seattle, but kind of what do you think they're going to be closer to?
Closer to another ugly performance like the one against Seattle. The Texans, they are not likely to have Nico Collins, who has a concussion. And since he got the concussion on Monday night, not much of a chance he's going to clear the protocol in time to play. And Nico is far and away the best playmaker in the Houston offense, really the only playmaker. And the 49ers defense looked great against the Falcons last week. And I don't know what kind of magic or voodoo witchcraft Robert Saleh performed to get that performance out of a defense that was playing a bunch of guys who had never played significant NFL snaps before. And somehow the 49ers defense looked almost Super Bowl caliber last week against the Falcons. It was really impressive.
Debra, I saw you nodding that you agree that you were not expecting a good performance from the Texans offense this week. Do you agree with what Fitz said about Nico being really the only playmaker in the offense? Because I know you were high on these rookie receivers coming into the season if they were going to get the opportunity. They just really haven't.
Nick Caley is one of the worst offensive coordinators in the NFL. He's bottom 5. He shouldn't make it out of this freaking season. He is horrible. That's part of it. That's part of what's going on here. The fact that Xavier Hutchinson, Braxton Berrios played more snaps and ran more freaking routes last week than Jalen Noel. The problems here are easy to see. Behind an offensive line, Nick Caley thinks they could be a power run game. They can go run up the freaking A gap continuously with Woody Marks and freaking Nick Chubb and impose their will on short yardage downs. What world are you living in, bro? Are you seriously looking at the depth chart that you have? Because the fact that you play Xavier Hutchinson over two talented rookies, the fact that you are not giving CJ Stroud any easy button answers for quick pressure, for when he's hot, any of this. Like, CJ Stroud's not playing good football. Absolutely agree with that. This offense looks emphatically broken. But a lot of this comes back to their play caller is freaking clueless about the depth chart that he has, the talent that he has, and what he's supposed to do with it. Because why did you go out and draft both of these rookie wide receivers to help your quarterback into this season, and you're playing these veterans that are not difference makers throughout the entirety of the season? I cannot, like, that's why, like, I didn't want to add him to the waiver wire column this week with Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, because I can't put them in a lineup if Houston won't even put them in a lineup. I'm going to stop at the rant, but, like, I can't have faith in this offense because Nick Caley is an utter buffoon.
Geez, Fitz, how do you think Debro really feels?
I'm just being honest,
I just wish
man.
he would speak up.
How can anybody watch Texans football and not think this right now?
I guess I'm curious, who would you rather start between the two? Because I know Noel had the bigger game in Seattle. Higgins was the one that I felt like in August, people were almost calling like the Nico Collins handcuff. Like, this is the guy who could step into that role. He didn't do anything against Seattle. But if you had to start one just in a pinch, 16 bye, they're ranked just a few spots apart in ECR. Fitz, like, who would you prefer, Higgins or Noel?
I've got them basically ranked next to each other. I think I've Higgins ranked a little higher.
Debra, if you had to start one?
Can I say neither? I don't want to start anybody from this freaking offense. Nobody.
If you had to start either, you would just take a 0.
I'd play Jalen Noel only because the 49ers have given up more production to slot receivers. Now watch Braxton Berrios go out there and run more routes than him this week, get 5 targets, score a touchdown. Fitzy, what are your thoughts on this offense before we move off of this? Am I crazy with the fact that I can't stand this freaking offense because the OC is, I just question what the heck he's doing.
The Berrios thing was pretty maddening, but
it's just, it doesn't make any sense, dude. It doesn't make any sense.
We knew the offensive line was going to be bad, though, and it really hasn't disappointed. And I feel bad for CJ Stroud, and I know he's not playing especially well. But then, like, CJ Stroud puts one in Nico Collins' mitts for what looks like it should be a big play last week, and Nico drops it. Like, it's a lot of things kind of going haywire in this offense right now. But I agree that it's not a very well designed offense.
No, it's bad, dude. It's really bad. It's you're asking CJ Stroud to drive a car that has 2 flat tires and the other one is sitting on a rim. How does he do that?
Let's go to Browns at Patriots. Drake Maye and the Pats have been rolling as of late, but the Browns defense has been excellent all season. How can they slow down New England? Debro, what do you think?
The pass rush has to get home, and they have to expose the Patriots offensive line. Like, outside of that, Drake Maye is going to roll. I'm extremely high on Drake Maye this week. I'm high on Stephon Diggs versus single high coverage. He has been eating. As long as, we can project, like, he's going to play a full-time role and he's fully healthy. I know he's got the chest issue and stuff like that, but still, the pass rush for the for the Cleveland Browns has to get home to wreck the Patriots' day. Like, they are 11th in pressure rate, and quietly New England, Drake Maye has been navigating like muddy pockets like a savant all year. But if that goes sideways at all, like, the Patriots are giving up the 5th highest pressure rate. So Myles Garrett has to have a big day, and this pass rush has to get home.
Fitz, how do you see this one playing out?
I sort of agree with Debro. Like, make the Patriots one-dimensional, and that lets the Browns pass rushers pin their ears back and go after Drake Maye. Because in the 2 games New England has lost this season to the Steelers and, I don't know how, the Raiders, in those 2 games, Patriots running backs had 45 and 74 rushing yards. and they averaged 3.5 yards per carry against the Raiders, 3.4 per carry against the Steelers. And the Browns' run defense ranks number 1 in DVOA, so maybe Cleveland can make New England one-dimensional.
I want to be really clear that what I'm about to say is not fantasy advice. Do not start this person. Wouldn't it be so hilarious and just like the most fantasy football thing if Travion Henderson like had his big breakout game against the Browns?
Geez.
It would be.
Wouldn't that just be so typical of fantasy football?
It would. The only thing that would make that better if it was like a Thursday or Monday night, like an island game, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Don't start Henderson. I'm just, making a fun comment. That's again, that does not constitute fantasy advice. I don't really, the Browns, they have been better against the run than the pass, but they've just been so good, in general that I get that it's like kind of scary. Like, are you guys starting Drake Maye like confidently this week? I know he's ranked as a start clearly, but like, do you feel excited to be starting him this week, or are you a little hesitant?
Do you have any?
You got me to start him.
Do you have any serious questions for him? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying it's a tough matchup. Okay. Fitz, nobody besides you loves Drake Maye as much as I do. So I'm not saying you don't start him. I'm saying, dialing back expectations a little given the match. I'm just asking.
Do you feel bad about starting the MVP candidate this week? Do you feel bad about starting one of arguably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL? You worried about that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have him QB1, but yeah, he's among the
two of the last 3 weeks he's been outside the top 10 at the position. So it's not like he's been.
But dude,
he's awesome.
Hold on, one of those games was just because he didn't have a touchdown pass against the Buffalo Bills, but like everyone was raving about what a masterful performance he put on in a nationally televised game against Buffalo.
Worm, watch the tape.
I don't know why this is being framed as if I'm anti-Drake Maye. I'm just saying it's like the best defense in football.
You asked the question.
I'm just asking if you're a little more hesitant than usual. I'm not saying don't start him or anything. That would also not.
You heard it from here, Worm first. Bad Drake Maye week. Great for Travion Henderson. Let's go.
I was ranking Drake Maye as like a top 7 dynasty quarterback in June in conversations with Fitz. Okay, I love Maye. You will not take this from me. I'm just pointing out it's a tough matchup. That's all I'm pointing out.
Oh man, just trying to give you the business, man. It's too good.
I'm gonna do the same thing next week when he's facing Atlanta. I'm gonna be like, are you guys hesitant at all about starting Drake Maye against the good Falcons defense?
Falcons pass rush, man.
We'll have this conversation again. If you are worried about your own lineup decisions, you can let Autopilot manage your fantasy football lineup automatically so you never have to worry about last-minute changes. Auto-swap inactive players and ensure your lineup is always optimized, even when you can't be online. Take control with the flexibility to approve lineup changes via email or let Autopilot handle everything. Stay ahead with My Playbook Autopilot, available now for Fantasy Pros premium subscribers at fantasypros.com/myplaybook or on the Fantasy Pros app. Try premium for free right now by claiming your 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. Last game in the early slate, guys, Giants at Eagles. These two teams just faced off 2 weeks ago. Which players from that matchup 2 weeks ago do you think will do better this week, and which do you think will do worse than in that Week 6 game, Fitz?
I think this one is kind of easy to answer, Worm. On the Eagles side, Devontae Smith will probably do better. He had 4 catches for 49 yards against the Giants 2 weeks ago, but now A.J. Brown has a hamstring injury, might not play. You have to figure Devontae will be busier this time, and he's coming off that huge game against the Vikings. We didn't get the revenge game results from Saquon Barkley in that first meeting with the Giants, 12 carries, 58 yards. I think he has a bigger day this time in Philly. And if A.J. Brown is out, Dallas Goedert could have another big day, but realistically, probably not as big a day as he had against the Giants 2 weeks ago when he had 9 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. On the other side, I think it's going to be tougher sledding this time around for Jackson Dart. The Eagles didn't have Jalen Carter in that first game against the Giants, and I think one of their I think it was Quinyon Mitchell who left that game sort of early. So they were down on manpower, and Jalen Carter is just such a wrecking ball, and now he's back. So Jackson Dart was QB3 in fantasy scoring the week he played the Giants. I think he finishes out of the top 10 this week. And as much as I like Cam Scatterbo, he's probably not scoring another 3 touchdowns.
I was going to say, I thought
was
the
my
first
answer.
name you were going to say was Scatterbo.
Yeah, he's the obvious
That's my
fade.
answer. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's probably too obvious, right? You don't.
That was the low hanging fruit that I was picking. I was just gonna say, well, he's not scoring 3 touchdowns. There you go.
But what actually are your expectations for Scadaboo? Where are you ranking him this week? Like, clearly you're not going to sit him again, but like, are you viewing him differently? Just with a little more health on the Eagles.
No, I mean, I think, right now I've got him at RB12 right now. If you got Scadaboo, you're freaking starting him.
Yeah.
6 teams on a bye. He's going to flirt with probably 20 touches in this game. And he's probably going to score at least once. And he's game script proof. Like, he's going to get pass game utility. So,
would you rather start Scadaboo or Breece Hall? Because they're back-to-back in ECR.
Scadaboo.
Breece Hall's higher in ECR. I'm surprised by that.
But the other thing about Breece is he's not fully healthy. So I don't know how much Isaiah Davis we're going to see this week. And I'm not saying we're going to see a ton, but can the usage get wonky enough? Possibly.
How about this, Debro? Scadaboo or Rashad White?
I'll take Rashad White. Only because I think they're going to lean on him a little bit harder with Egbuka still not 100%. This is a game they should win and stuff, and he's going to be the clear, like, bell cow. So, I'll go Rashad White. But to Fitzy's point, I think my 2 easy answers for this one were less of a game for Scadaboo because he's not going to freaking have the hat trick again. But even if A.J. Brown was active in this game, I'm still sky high on Devonta Smith. Like, the coverage matchup, because the Giants have switched from being a single high heavy team to 2 high, and Devonta Smith has eaten versus 2 high. Like, he's got a 26% target share, 33.8% first read share versus 2 high coverage. And the Giants over the last 2 weeks have utilized it on 52 to 65% of the defensive snaps. So big day for Smitty coming in, whether A.J. Brown plays or not. And then, if A.J. Brown's active, I think he's out in this game. But if he's active, all that means is we're going to get more cryptic tweets from A.J. Brown this week.
Yeah, I did want to ask, like, I hate when a player has had a hamstring all week and then is like, it's questionable all week. Even if they do play, I feel so nervous about it. It's obviously been an up and down season for Brown anyway. Now, we just saw Emeka Egbuka, who's younger, but we just saw him questionable all week with a hamstring, and he did end up playing and earned 12 targets in that game, kind of gutting through the hamstring injury. But it just makes me nervous on Brown. Like, if he is questionable in a game time decision and does end up being active, like, it's a 16 bye week, so it's going to be really hard to find somebody else that you like better. But if you have a lot of depth at the position, I would consider looking elsewhere. Like,
this is one of those instances where you could just lean on, are they playing tool? AJ Brown, 9% chance of playing right now.
Yeah.
That's
so
it.
certainly trending in that way.
But I agree with you. Like, how we've seen AJ Brown go out there and be less than 100% healthy. I'm like, it depends on your options. Like, I'm not against starting him or sitting him. It just depends on who you're weighing that against.
By the way, I pulled up the quarterback staff rankings just because when Fitz mentioned Jackson Dart, I was curious where he was. And I couldn't help but notice that Debro is lower than consensus on Drake Maye this week. So I'm just throwing it out there that he might also be fading Drake Maye. And was
I'm sorry, I pushed
me.
Justin Herbert above him in rankings. That didn't seem like a bad
I'm not saying it was a bad
right
call.
now, does it?
I'm just saying we're on the same side here. Okay. All right, let's get to the late slate. I mentioned Rashad White and Egbuka. We're talking about the Bucs at Saints here first in the late slate. I want to ask about the receivers. Chris Olave and Emeka Egbuka are both ranked in the back half of the top 10 amongst wide receivers in ECR this week. Who will have the better day? Olave coming off a 2-touchdown day. Egbuka obviously coming off a 12-target day. Like I just mentioned, despite that week of hamstring issues, no Mike Evans now. So who do you guys like better in this game, Olave or Egbuka? I'll start with you, Debro.
I'm sky high on Olave this week. I will have him right back to back with Emeka Egbuka. But I think that there's a chance he comes away with a better game. Like, Egbuka's clearly not 100%. I'm not saying that he's not going to get a ton of targets, but this is also a game where you could see Baker also utilize Cade Otton in a good matchup. You could also see them just ride Rashad White. Tez Johnson can get involved. And so Egbuka, like, he's clearly not 100%. Like, he went out and he had a lot of targets, and really there was a really good defensive game plan against him last week. But I love Chris Olave this week, man. Like, the coverage matchup is fantastic. We know he gets a ton of targets. And I know we're worried about, like, okay, Todd Bowles and the blitz and stuff like that. Spencer Rattler's not amazing. Dude, against the blitz, Chris Olave has a 36% target share and 4.0 yards per route run. And the Bucs had the 4th highest blitz rate. Like, I've already bet Chris Olave overs, so I'm going to lean Olave here.
Who do you like better, Fitz?
I have both in the top 10, but hey, I'll go with the guy tied to the better quarterback. Emeka Egbuka plays with Baker Mayfield. Chris Olave plays with Spencer Rattler. Not that Rattler has been awful this year, but he's no Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I think like even though he played last week, I guess I just get nervous with hamstrings, so maybe like a slight lean. I mean, Olave is technically questionable as well. So.
75% snap share, 12 targets. Like I think he's. I'm not too worried about it. But
it's less that like of what he did last week and more that it's just like it is an injury that can get re-injured. I don't know. It's just nervousness. I'm not saying you're wrong for having him higher. Obviously, they're both inside the top 10 for a reason, but. Okay, let's go to the next game here. Cowboys at Broncos. This is the only game in Week 8 with a total over 50 on Hard Rock Bet. But are there any players you are fading in this game relative to consensus, or are you just expecting fireworks the way Hard Rock Bet seems to be expecting Fitz?
I'm fading Bo Nix relative to consensus. I know everyone wants to jump on the matchup against the Cowboys, but Nix has not been good lately. 5.8 yards per attempt over his last 3 games. That passing attack has just not looked very good lately. So,
where do you have him ranked, Fitzy?
Well, put it this way: I think in ECR he is above Dak Prescott, and I think that's crazy. A travesty.
I'm not doing that either.
An absolute travesty. Like
I've got him at QB 10. Are you with me, or are you lower than that?
No, I've actually got him QB 8. So
okay.
I mean,
he's QB 6 in consensus,
right?
See, but I agree with Fitzy. That's too high. Like I had Justin Herbert above him. I have Drake May, Baker Mayfield. I have Daniel Jones above him.
Yep.
Like I think Daniel Jones shreds Tennessee.
I've got him just ahead of Daniel Jones. Like I don't know how you can put Dak below him. All due respect to the Denver defense, but over Dak Prescott's last 4 games, 13 touchdown passes, no interceptions. 71.4% completion rate, 8.1 yards per attempt. He's only been sacked 3 times in the last 4 weeks. Like Dak is playing MVP caliber football right now.
Yep. I agree with you. I've got Dak at QB5 this week. I'm not worried. And this is not a shade to the Denver defense. Dude, Dak is playing inspired football. Yeah. Like he's playing awesome right now.
I don't think anybody would disagree that Dak is playing better than Bo Nix, but I mean, these are pretty extreme opposite ends of the matchup you can have.
Yeah.
But
at Denver
but it's also a good rushing matchup.
Dallas.
Like I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks. I think back to your original question, Worm, I'm not fading anybody, but honestly, like, I mean, everybody I'm pretty close to consensus. I mean, maybe like we talked about with Bo Nix, I'm below consensus, but he's still a top 10 quarterback for the week. So it's like you're just splitting hairs there. But like, I'm really high on Cortland Sutton. I'm high on Troy Franklin. I think Marvin Mims is definitely flex worthy this week. Play all your Cowboys. If you got Cowboys, start them. Let's go. Like,
do you think Lamb gets a better Surtain? Obviously, you're starting Lamb, but you think he gets a better Surtain?
I don't know if he gets the better of Surtain. I think that what Dallas can do, because Surtain doesn't always go to the slot, I think they could hide him and kind of put him in bunch, and like they could do creative things to get Patrick Surtain out of his back pocket.
Who do you like in that one-on-one matchup, Fitz?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lamb will get his, but like Debro said, I mean, I think CeeDee Lamb is playing about a third of his snaps in the slot. So it's not like he's going to be seeing Patrick Surtain every single route he runs.
They could bump that up to like 40 or 50% this week and just
maybe
put his target per route run rate really high in the slot too. So,
do you guys like the over in this game? I think it's 50.5 last time. It's up to 51. Yeah.
I like the over. I mean, this comes down to like, I just don't think Dallas has a competent defense.
Yeah, I'm not betting that number either way.
No, I'm not betting it, but if I have to take one part, I'm taking the over. I don't like to get, like, when we get above like totals above 50, I'm usually just kind of like, there's more ways to like this to go bad than to hit. So I usually just avoid.
If you want a chance to win a signed A.J. Brown Eagles jersey for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head to fantasypros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Fantasy Pros app, leave a review for the podcast, or follow us on X, Instagram, or TikTok at Fantasy Pros. The more actions you complete, the more entries you receive. We will be announcing a winner on the podcast near the beginning of next month. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Let's go to Titans at Colts. This is an easy matchup for fantasy purposes, I think, so I want to have some fun. Debro has Bijan Robinson RB1 this week, which is what consensus has as well. Fitz has his Wisconsin guy, Jonathan Taylor, as RB1 this week, of course, facing the Titans. Make the case for your guy. We already talked a bit about Bijan, so I will let Fitz go first here on Jonathan Taylor.
I love this question so much. I just have to throw this is my favorite question of the entire week. I love this.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
Great matchups for both guys. The Dolphins have given up the third most fantasy points to running backs. Titans have given up the fourth most. Dolphins have given up the most, I think, rushing yards to running backs, and the Titans have given up the third most. The difference for me is the touchdown outlook. Jonathan Taylor has 11 touchdowns in 7 games. He's the only running back in the league with double-digit rushing touchdowns, and the Titans are the only team in the league to have allowed double-digit rushing touchdowns to running backs. They've given up 10 plus 1 touchdown catch to running backs. Bijan has 4 touchdowns in 6 games. Dolphins have only allowed 5 touchdowns to running backs, 5 fewer than the Titans. I'm just going with the touchdown outlook here, being a little bit better for Taylor.
I think
Taylor has 3 hat tricks this year. I just want to contextualize that for everybody. 3 hat tricks. It's hard to get a guy to do that once in a season, much less 3 times. And we're at freaking week 8, guys. Like that's wild.
I mean, Taylor, it's funny because Taylor is somebody that I really... I kind of felt was a little underranked during the draft season, and yet I never drafted him because there was always a receiver I wanted more in the area that he was going. It wasn't even that I was like I thought he was underranked amongst running backs, but there was some receiver on the board that I was going to take ahead of him, and he's just been, I mean, the fantasy MVP this season.
I was out. I was worried about the offense. I was out. I've been big wrong on that.
We've had this crazy big 3 at running back with like Bijan, Taylor, and McCaffrey being so far ahead of the pack. Like, you could have, the way the places where Taylor and McCaffrey were going in drafts, you could have conceivably come away with both of those guys. And I'm sure there are probably some people watching this show, listening to the show right now, who do have that combination. Congratulations. I'm guessing you're either...
Toss it in the comments if y'all drafted those two. Like,
you're 7-0 or maybe. Probably 6-1 at worst. So,
or I mean, if you played in a salary cap league, you might have gone in and say, I want to go RB heavy, and said, I'm going to get Bijan and McCaffrey or whoever it is. So
and you're looking unstoppable. Like, at this point of the season, if you got both those backs, like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Debro, I mean, do you want to kind of hit on why you have Bijan higher? I mean, obviously they're both awesome. We're just having fun here.
All right, I will say on this, the way that this goes sideways and the way that JT outpaces Bijan is exactly what I kind of alluded to with Bijan. This is also a really freaking good spot if you want to inject confidence into Michael Penix. That secondary for Miami is clueless. It's a good spot also to feed Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, get him going. So the way that Bijan fails and he's not the RB1 overall this week is Penix just absolutely shreds them. So like that could happen, man. Like, I'm not saying that can't.
By the way, the total in this game, Colts Titans, is 48. I don't see how that's gonna hit. I just don't think the Titans are any good. I can't imagine.
Are the Colts putting up 50?
I'm like, this is gonna have to be all Indy, which Indy will score a lot, but like I just don't see the Titans getting.
Indy pulls all their starters in the fourth quarter, and Cam Ward, like, the Titans get 10 points. Like, I'm not touching that either.
The spread, by the way, on Hard Rock Bet for that game is 15. Can you imagine going back to August and telling yourself that the Colts will be favored by 15?
So the spread is 15 and the total's
team.
At that? Like, that's just like, I mean, the implied team total for the Colts, I mean, they're basically saying, JT hat trick again?
Yeah. By the way, I like how Fitz said that the difference between these two in his ranking is the touchdown equity. I think the real difference is that Bijan played college in Austin, Texas, and Jonathan Taylor played college in Madison, Wisconsin.
I'm not a Taylor homer.
I would be very curious of Scott Bogman's rankings of these two running backs this week.
Exactly. Bogman definitely has Bijan RB1.
I was going to say, dude, if Bogman has JT over Bijan, I need to drop Bijan then. Okay.
That would be a real sign of it. Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go double check that after this show.
Let's go to Sunday Night Football. Packers at Steelers. Speaking of Fitz's favorite teams, which teammate has the higher weekly positional finish this week? Josh Jacobs at running back or Tucker Kraft at tight end? And then I'm going to ask the same question for some Steelers teammates. Let's start with the Packers ones, though. So who finishes higher at their position? Tucker Kraft at tight end or Josh Jacobs at running back, Fitz?
This is the question for the Aaron Rodgers Bowl, Worm. We're not going to talk about Aaron Rodgers at all for this game.
I don't enjoy talking about Aaron Rodgers.
He was leaving it for you to set up, Fitzy.
All right.
Yeah.
So
by the way, every time I send you guys the questions, I say, let me know if you want, if I missed anything or you want me to add a question.
I'm giving you grief.
Fitz, we would rather bring it up on air.
I don't think
much
I've
better
ever
if we just do it on air.
A single feedback from you guys if we have to change this.
I'm giving you grief.
You missed this topic.
I mean, golly, can we not talk about the Ravens for 15 minutes? That's my only
Tucker
feedback,
Kraft or Josh Jacobs. I have Kraft ranked tight end 2. And I think he has the easier path to be a top 3 fantasy scorer at tight end since, Josh Jacobs has to reckon with the big 3 at running back with Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson. So I think Kraft is the answer there.
Debro, Kraft, or Jacobs at their position?
Yeah, it's Kraft, and I think it's Kraft easily for me. It's one of the positional stuff, but it's also the Pittsburgh Steelers have been a fantastic matchup for tight ends. They're giving up the 5th most receiving yards per game to tight ends, 3rd most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game. You look at the coverage matchup. I think this is a big game for Tucker Kraft and Romeo Doubs this week. So I'm in on both those guys, and I think Kraft beats Jacobs because of the positional stuff and the matchup.
All right, how about this to appease Fitz? Same question, who has a higher weekly positional finish? DK Metcalf at receiver, Jalen Warren at running back, or Aaron Rodgers at quarterback?
Oh, you're throwing it in there.
We'll
like the curveball here. It wasn't on the show sheet, Worm. How spry of you, sir. I think it's going to be DK Metcalf. Jalen Warren's going to get a lot of volume, but the Packers' run defense is really freaking, they're up there. They're top 5 this year, man. So Warren's going to have to do it just based off of volume and stuff. I think this is also, we talked about, he has not put out cryptic tweets. He has not chirped in the media. This is also a really good game for if Aaron Rodgers is going to have a throwback performance or something after last week and DK Metcalf getting left out of the tight end party for touchdowns and stuff. This is also a really good spot where DK goes over to him and says, hey man, you want to have a big game? How about you feed your boy the ball? Come on, let's go.
Fitz, what do you think? Warren is RB16 in consensus. Rodgers is QB16. Metcalf is up at wide receiver 12. So the consensus rankings have him finishing higher.
Yeah, and I've got Metcalf 1 spot above consensus. So he's the answer at wide receiver 11. I'm fascinated by this DK Metcalf makeover that we're seeing. We thought he was a very
yak receiver.
Yep. Yeah, he used to be the air yards guy, not a lot of yak. It's funny. He already has more yards after catch through 6 games, 240 yards after the catch, than he had in the entirety of the 2022 season when he played 17 games and had 1,048 receiving yards. He only had 217 yards after the catch in those 17 games. His best season with yards after catch per reception, best mark of his career was 5.6. He's at 10.9 this year. And his average depth of target is the lowest of his career. He's just become malleable. And Aaron Rodgers is kind of a different guy. He's sort of dinking and dunking this. And maybe that's a good thing against the Packers because you don't want to stand in there and take 7-step drops against this Green Bay pass rush. So really fascinating matchup this week. And I do like DK.
Let's go to Monday Night Football. Kind of a weird game to cover, just we know Mariota's starting. There's still these question marks about health in the receiving room for Washington. So I wanted to just kind of do a head-to-head here on the running backs. Who would you rather start in this game, Isaiah Pacheco or Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt? Obviously, the Chiefs coming off this dominant performance against the Raiders. With Jaden Daniels out, you would be nervous about, the Commanders keeping this game. How does that impact Bill? So I'm curious what direction you guys go. Fitz, I'll start with you on this one. Pacheco or Bill in this matchup?
I initially had Bill ranked higher, but I have pivoted to Pacheco, and it sounds like I like Pacheco a good bit more than Debro does. I want the guy in the high-powered offense on the team that's favored by, 12.5 points? Plus, it seems like Kareem Hunt is probably going to be out with an ankle injury. This game just sets up well for Pacheco, although it is worth noting that the Chiefs do have the highest pass rate over expected in the league. So we're not going to see Pacheco get the same sort of rushing volume that dudes like Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs are going to get. But still, I could see him easily getting 14 or 15 carries and, maybe some goal line work.
Debra?
I'm going to go Bill, and it's just based off the volume. I know that he's still going to get 15 opportunities. I just don't feel good about Pacheco's role in this offense, what this team does. I mean, like, dude, like, they get inside the 10-yard line. Like, right now, the Chiefs are 4th in passing rate. They're throwing the ball inside the freaking 10-yard line at 63%. I just...
Their goal line back is a receiver.
Yeah, exactly. Like, their goal line back is actually Patrick Mahomes. Like, so you're more likely to see him take off running, or heck, you're more likely to see a receiving touchdown for Brashard Smith this week. So that's where I don't feel good about either one of these backs. I'll lean Bill with the volume because I just don't have any, like, Pacheco's not playing good. I don't have a good feel about his touchdowns. Like, I think the KC offense is just going to keep lighting it up, like throwing the freaking ball, man.
Since we're talking about Pacheco, I'm going to very shamelessly ask you guys a decision I have to make in one of my leagues.
Here we go.
Pacheco or Diggs? And from what you said, Debra, I'm
Diggs.
sure you're going to say Diggs. You said you're really high on Diggs this week.
Is it PPR or half point PPR?
I believe it's PPR. It's the guillotine league that we're in, Fitz.
Yeah, then it's PPR. So I'm going with Diggs in PPR.
Yeah.
All right. I was just talking to you yesterday, Fitz.
Well,
about
I
my
mean, I'm
roster
surprised
in the league.
Worm is going to go with Diggs even after you said that, Fitz. He was fading Drake Maye this week, so.
Yeah. All right, I do have a second question in this game. I just want to ask what you guys thought of Rashee Rice's usage in his return to the field. It's only 42 receiving yards, but obviously he caught 2 touchdowns. They clearly were making an effort to get him the ball near the red zone early. But then the game got out of hand early, so they didn't really need to use him that much. On the one hand, it was like, hey, let's work him back in, shake some of the rust off because the Raiders are terrible. We know we're going to win this game. On the other hand, it was, like I said, it got out of hand, so they didn't need to keep using him later in the game. How did his game in Week 7 change your outlook for him rest of season, Debra?
It didn't. I thought that as soon as he came back into the huddle, he was going to be KC's Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's exactly what he's doing. Like, he had a 25% target share, man. The snaps are going to go up. I don't think that he's going to get a 53% target per route run rate on a weekly basis. But I think what this all comes back to, he is the clear and emphatic wide receiver 1 in this offense. Like, everybody else is the 2 and 3 and whatever the heck you want to talk about. Like, Xavier Worthy, people should have been trading him away before Rashee Rice came back, and I think that's still true, man. Like, Rasheever's going to get all the freaking targets, man. Dude got 9 targets. When he's a full-time player, he's going to live in that 9 to 12 target bucket every single week.
Fitz?
Just jaw-dropping production. He ran 19 routes and got 10 targets. And Rashee Rice, here's the really crazy stat. Rashee Rice had 4 targets in the green zone from the 10-yard line or closer. Rashee Rice is already tied for 6th among wide receivers in green zone targets after one game in which he ran 19 routes. And again, just to reiterate the point, the Chiefs have the highest pass rate over expected in the league by a pretty wide margin. Actually, the Chiefs pass rate over expected is plus 7.9%. The Chargers are second at 5.6% on the plus side. So Rashee Rice is a high-end wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season. Top 6 every week, but I do disagree with Debro. Like, I don't think Xavier Worthy is just going to shrivel on the vine here when the Chiefs are throwing at like almost 8% over expected. It's just, if you get these games, like I don't know if you can feel super confident in Worthy this week with the Chiefs 12.5-point favorites over the Commanders, but they get into some shootouts, like Worthy is going to eat too because he and Rice have complementary skill sets. So I still think Worthy has like playable fantasy value. I think he's a guy you're still probably starting every week under most circumstances.
Yeah, you're probably still starting him, but I do think it's notable since week 5, since he came back, he only has a 16% target share. I don't know how much that's going to actually go up. And like, kind of behind Rice, I think they're gonna still get in Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquise Hollywood-Brown, and Travis Kelce's going to have some weeks. Like, that's where it's like, I think Worthy kind of falls back and he's competing in the pack with all those other guys for targets, where Rice is going to be like, he's on another level, man. Like, I'm not worried about his target share on a weekly basis at all.
I love how, just with the 3 of us being on a show together, we have our most teams on bye the entire season, so our fewest games to talk about of the whole year, and we still went like way over on time. We just have too much to talk about here. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up there. Best of luck surviving this bye-apocalypse, everybody. For Debro and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.